Good morning.
Good morning.
It's wonderful to be with you all again. I want to thank you for the wonderful potluck last night and the meals that people prepared, and especially the ones that said Kimberly safe on them. I appreciated the extra time and energy that you put into that, and it was a very gracious offering, and it was wonderful to be with you. And it's wonderful to be with you this morning on technically the second day of spring, as we've just celebrated the spring equinox yesterday. And to me, all four of the scripture passages for the lectionary, even though we've only read two of them, connect with that springtime and that newness that we talked about this morning. Certainly in Isaiah, of things being made new, and also of this connection of the heart. And Angeles Arian, who is an anthropologist who works with indigenous cultures, talks about springtime being the season of the heart, where the heart is open. And our invitation in springtime is to pay attention to what has heart and meaning. And I don't know about you, but last week it seemed like the Bay Area finally burst open with springtime, and the air was warmer, and there was an opening. I felt that kind of opening of my heart, and I could tell people around were kind of in a good mood, and there was that extra energy and things were buzzing. It seems like springtime is a perfect time for us to reflect on what has heart and meaning, and an opening our hearts in our lives. And if you, of course, celebrated Chinese New Year, my understanding is you got to celebrate the spring twice, right? Isn't Chinese New Year on one level welcoming of spring and the flowers, the symbol of that new life after winter's sleep? And one of the things I admire about this festival is the conscious cleaning that happens beforehand. There's a ritual to the cleaning, right? You have to clean things out and clean your house and sweep the step, and you have to do it before Chinese New Year falls so that the new thing can come in, right? So that you're sweeping out the old, releasing it, getting rid of it, so that the place is prepared for the new thing to come in, right? I think it's great that you have a ritual for that, because the rest of us are just left to the mercy of spring fever when it comes to clean. And it happened to actually come upon me last week. I just had this frenetic bout of cleaning, and I just started with one little corner of a room, and I couldn't stop until the whole room was done. And had this new attachment on my vacuum cleaner I wanted to play with. And I got like great dust out of corners, and I threw stuff away, and I dusted stuff off. And by the time I was done, it felt like I had a whole new room. It was amazing. And I don't know if it was kind of a feng shui thing or what, but it felt like there was an energy, like it was open to new energy coming in there, prepared for something new. Well, I think this is what Isaiah is trying to tell us in this passage in Isaiah 43, of preparing for a new thing to come. And he says, I am about to do a new thing. Do you not perceive it? We have to open our eyes and ears to be able to perceive that new thing. And every time I hear this passage, I think of a branch like this. I almost thought it was literally in the passage until I looked closer. A springtime branch that's ripe with potential, just about to burst open and do a new thing. But before that can happen, God tells us through Isaiah and says, do not remember the former things or consider the things of old. Now we might ask why God would say that through Isaiah. Is God saying to do away with tradition or history, or that it's not important? I don't think so. Because earlier in the passage in verses 16 and 17, God reminds them by saying, I am the one who makes a way in the sea, a path in the mighty waters, who brings out chariot and horse, army and warrior. Those are, of course, images of the crossing of the Red Sea in the Exodus. So God is reminding them of their rich heritage and their tradition and saying, it's good for you to claim that. And yet, do not remember the former things or consider the things of old. And since this was said to a people who had been in exile, I believe God is saying it's time now to release the suffering of the past. The pain, the shame, the hurts, the brokenness, the old wounds. It's time now to release those, to not remember those things anymore, because I am about to do a new thing. And just like we sometimes have external cleaning of our homes to prepare energetically for that new thing, I think Isaiah is saying that we have to prepare our hearts to receive that new thing that God is about to do. And sometimes that might mean that we have to be willing to risk to clear out some of the brokenness or bitterness or hurts or wounds that can crust over our hearts and keep them from fully being open to receive that new thing that God has for us. Well, to me, that's part of what the very framework of Lent is about too. Lent as a liturgical season offers a framework for us to go deeper into our own reflective process to prepare ourselves for the new thing of the resurrection of Easter that's about to come.